Okay, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us today here at the Cool Hub here in Madrid, which is a pretty cool place. Thank you for being here. Today I have the pleasure of introducing you to Rikard Björkdahl. Did I pronounce that
Yeah,
correctly?
that's pretty good.
Okay, thank you. I hope I did a good job. So Rikard is the founder of Greenhero, and I'll go ahead and ask him a few questions, and we'll learn more about Greenhero and about himself and everything. So Rikard, tell us about yourself. So you live in New York City.
Yep.
You're here for a few days. So yeah, go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and what drove you to start something like Greenhero, and then you can go ahead and explain exactly what Greenhero is.
Yeah, sure. First, Roberto, thank you for having me here, and thank you
Yeah,
for Cool Hub as well for having me.
yeah.
Well, Green Hero is a service that helps people to eat more plant-based foods.
Okay.
And what we're trying to do is to be as strategic as possible for
Mm,
people to make it as easy as possible. So depends where you are in your journey, what you want to do. You can kind of set the goals that you want, and
yeah.
Green Hero will help you to get to where you want to be to include more plant-based food into your life.
Okay. Great. So, what drove you to start this company? What was the motivator?
I think this started out as an idea, I would say almost 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
Okay.
And it was at a time when I myself was very interested in like changing my diet to be more plant forward. I
Okay.
wasn't really sure if I wanted to go 100% vegan, but
Okay.
I was sure I wanted to eat more plants.
Okay.
And my reasons were first health reasons
Yeah.
and secondary the environment.
Okay.
And so I was just eating a normal diet. And what
Mm-hmm.
I started to do, and as I'm a designer, very interested in just like how things work, I just
Mm.
started to make a food diary.
Okay.
And then I started to classify everything that I ate in different ways.
Okay.
So in the end, I was able to kind of analyze what I was doing.
Yeah.
And as I was analyzing this food diary, I started to see trends in the
Yeah.
way that I was eating. I
Okay.
saw things that repeated, specific dishes
Yeah.
for specific meals, like breakfast, for example, that I ate the
Mm.
same breakfast for about like 5 times out of the week,
Yeah.
like many
Yeah.
people do, right?
Yeah.
And I started to see different kinds of trends, right?
Yeah.
And so instead of just thinking that I needed to buy a lot of cookbooks and just start cooking plant-based food, it was a different approach to be like way more tactical with what I was eating. I saw or learned there that, well, actually, if I change my breakfast, which the effort to change that will be just like one because I eat it 5 times, well, the impact will
Yeah.
be 5 times of that.
Yeah.
So I've started to see like all these trends in the way that I was eating and how impactful it was to approach the transition into a plant-based diet in
Yeah.
this way.
Okay.
So yeah, that's kind of how it started out.
Okay. Interesting. So, what kind of impact do you think Green Hero has had so far, at least at a local level, in the New York City area?
Yeah, I would say we are very early in our product. So, I mean,
Okay.
it's micro impact. So, it's
Yeah.
impact on the individual. I
Yeah.
wouldn't say that you can see in like an impact in New York City right now. I
Yeah.
wish,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
not yet. But
Yeah.
we do see with people that are starting to track their food
Okay.
that they just start learning about what they're eating.
Okay.
And what they are also understanding is just like, where are they in this journey?
Yeah.
So some people have started to eat plant-based food, some people have never done it.
Yeah.
But when they start seeing like their food visualized in a very easy to understand way,
Yeah.
so we do analytics and it's a very visual way to see how you're eating. People
Okay.
are saying like, wow, this is pretty cool. Like I
Okay.
had no idea that I ate in this way. And then from there, they can kind of start making changes. So
Okay, great. So it's kind of like an educational process, just learning about yourself, and people learn about their own habits,
yeah.
and then it makes it easier to change their habits. Just knowing, because a lot of people don't realize, what I'm eating, where it comes from, how it affects my health, how often am I eating this,
Yeah.
etc. Exactly. Oh,
Yep.
I see. Great.
So that's kind of our first product that we're
Yeah.
creating, just because that's a kind of a small product, the tracking and
Yeah.
analytics.
Yeah.
But then it's up to people themselves to decide what they should do, right?
Yeah.
But that's really where people wants the most help as well, and that's where we know we want to go. So that is more taking a coaching approach.
Okay.
So when people see all these analytics, they start using it, but then they also say like, "Hey, but what now? What should I do?"
Mm,
So even from seeing seeing analytics to taking action is a
yeah.
pretty long step, and that's what we want to bridge as well.
Yeah, it takes time to change habits. Does Green Hero, do you have any like alliances, say, with vegan restaurants in the area, or with companies in the area to maybe to promote their products, anything like that?
Uh, Not yet, but we are starting to talk to people about this,
Okay.
because a lot of both restaurants and products, their biggest issue is to reach people for that like first taste, right?
Yeah.
And we do see that there's a big opportunity there to
Yeah.
help each other, right?
Yeah.
Because we want to help people to eat more plant-based food, and they want to kind of bring
I
people
see.
into their businesses as well. So yeah, so those are conversations, but not implemented into the service yet.
I see. And what plans do you have, later? Do you like right now, is it mainly focused in the New York City area? Are you nationally in the US? Are you aspiring to come here to Europe and implement
Yeah, I mean, the app is you can download from anywhere.
from
It's
anywhere, right?
international, right?
Yeah.
Um, and our steps will be to focus on the English speaking market first, because
Okay.
otherwise we have to translate.
Yeah.
And I think the focus is start between New York and London.
Okay.
I mean, the cities in the US that are very planned forward is New York, and of course Los Angeles, and the bigger California area as
Yeah.
well. But Europe is so much more ahead than the
Really?
US,
Okay.
and especially the UK. So we
Yeah,
are starting
definitely.
to partner a little bit with health coaches there as well, because they can use Green Hero as a tool with their clientele as well.
I see. That was my other question I was going to ask you. How do you see the difference between plant attitudes towards plant-based lifestyle in general in the U.S. compared to Europe? Or how about Spain? You spoke about the UK. Well, you've only been here a few days. You lived here
Yeah,
for a long time, but it was a while ago.
yeah.
But I don't know if you'd be able to give your thoughts on maybe what you observed here, or if you're
Yeah.
knowledgeable, if you can compare New York City to, say, Madrid with respect to plant-based
Yeah,
thinking.
I think I can speak in like broad strokes, and then we
Yeah,
can go into a few details that I've kind of seen in different countries.
yeah.
And I mean, the US way of bringing plant-based eating forward is through products. It's
Okay.
through the market itself.
Okay.
So it's a lot of innovation within plant-based products that they are trying to push out to the market and getting consumers on board,
Okay. Great.
which is great, but it requires a lot of marketing dollars.
Mm.
The thing in Europe, and especially Northern Europe, is that there's a huge conversation and awareness around climate change.
Yeah, I see.
And a lot of people, and I would say the media, are talking about, when they talk about climate change, they talk about eating less meat, and they
Okay.
talk about plant-based eating. So
Yeah.
consumers have already made like the connection
Yeah.
that I should eat more plant-based food. When I
Yeah.
speak to people in Sweden, for example, people who are older, they say like, yeah, we're trying to eat more plant-based or more vegetarian food. And I ask them why. And they say like, well, that's what we hear from the TV.
Okay.
And I mean, in the US, and I'm sure you guys see this in the news as well, we are not that forward when it comes to climate change. It's a very
Yeah.
political
It's a
issue,
political issue.
and
Yeah.
some people are even like denying that
Yeah.
it's
Of course.
existing issue.
Yeah.
And when you start looking at the media and you start analyzing it, there was a watchdog organization like for a hurricane that happened last summer, I think.
Yeah.
And they analyzed news segments for 3 days.
Yeah.
And out of 700 news segments talking about this hurricane, only 3% mentioned the word climate
Climate
change.
change. Huh?
So that's a huge difference.
Yeah.
And I think in general, Northern Europe, are a little bit better of adapting new things as
Yeah.
well. I think Spain, Italy, and the Mediterranean countries have a stronger identity to their culture,
Yeah.
and I think change comes a little bit slower here. And there's just like a lot of products here as well
Yeah.
that are very associated with this country, for example, that are
Yeah.
meat products,
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
is for tourism. And it's stuff that Spain exports as well, like
Yeah.
jamon, for example.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that maybe makes it a little bit different.
Yeah, definitely. I would agree from what I hear. I had a friend from the Netherlands and everything. He told me there it's much more vegan friendly, plant-based friendly, veggie friendly, whatever you want to call it in the Netherlands, as opposed to Spain. Here it's changing here too, but a lot more slowly and compared to the UK. But I've been here 3 years. I'm originally from the US, but I've lived all over. I'm vegan. I've been vegan for 5 years now. And I've noticed a change since I first got here. I've noticed
Hmm.
more plant-based products in the stores. But what does sell here in Spain more are, yeah, more traditional products in a plant-based format, as far as I understand, such as plant-based jamon
Hmm.
and all that. That's because a lot of people, like you said, are a little bit hesitant to change.
Yeah.
So with Green Hero, that's great. Do you have any thoughts about? Do you have a Spanish language version, or do you have any plans on opening a Spanish language version for Spain and perhaps Latin America,
Yeah.
where it's also growing the movement and the change in
Yeah.
lifestyle?
I mean, Spanish is the first language I would translate the application to,
Okay,
because just a huge Spanish speaking population in the US
in the U.S.
itself.
itself, yeah,
And then Latin America,
yeah,
which is also feeling climate change much more, the
yeah,
effects of climate
yeah,
change.
yeah, yeah.
So it feels like there is some innovation in the space, and people have that kind of awareness.
Okay,
And of course, here in Spain as well.
okay, great.
Um, but I am also curious to dip into the more Northern European
Yeah, of
market.
course.
But then there's the languages just fragments everything so much, like
Yeah,
just in Scandinavia, you have like 5 different languages that I would need to translate and
yeah, yeah,
manage. So
yeah.
I think Spanish would be the first language we would translate to.
Okay. I guess for Northern Europe, many of them speak English. Well, in the Netherlands, they speak English. In Germany, it's a commonly spoken language. So I guess just having it in English would be, I would think, maybe I'm naive about this, from my American, mind frame, that people speak a lot more English there. So I would think you could get away with just having it in English for many Northern European countries. I would think,
Yeah,
but
no,
correct me if I'm wrong.
I no,
But
I think that's true. I also think it's true for a certain age group.
yeah, yeah, of course, yeah,
That I'm not saying that people from an older generation don't speak, but it
yeah.
doesn't come naturally to maybe use services
I
in
see.
English.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
So,
yeah.
but yeah,
I'm curious. What are the demographics? Do you have information on the demographics of those who use your app? Is it mostly younger people? I don't know. More. I don't know. Is it divided by gender? By
hmm
race? Is there a specific niche that you're focusing on more than others, or that is more open
yeah,
to using Green Hero?
yeah. So I think what we are looking at, the demographic for me is something we have learned through looking at psychographics
Okay.
and life stage.
Okay.
So the demographic changes depending on life stage. So the interest in plant-based eating come from like different areas, right?
Different. Okay.
It could be animal rights, it could be
Yeah.
the environment,
Yeah.
it could be your health.
Yeah.
So if you look at the younger population, they come, most of them come from a concern of the environment
Okay.
because they're so young and they don't have any health problems yet.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So, and as I said, like especially in Europe, the younger generation really speaks about the climate a lot, and it's like
Okay.
a huge
Yeah.
concern. And I would say in the US, but to a
Yeah.
lesser extent.
Okay.
But then you have in the when life stage changes and you get into your 30s, 40s, people who are more in starting to build a family with their partner,
Yeah.
it's just the age thing that then we're starting to notice that, hey, we've lived now for 30 years
Yeah,
and I might have to do some changes to my life to have a more long-term health. And then people come at it much more from a health standpoint.
I see.
So,
I see.
and what's interesting, when we look at animal rights, that was kind of the way to get people into vegan eating
Yeah,
back in the day, right? It's something that was like kind of more
yeah.
political. And I think you see that, but it's something that's a much harder sell for people. You have
Mm,
to be really convinced about that. And it's
yeah.
a very all or nothing way to approach it.
Okay.
If you do it from an environmental standpoint or a health standpoint, you can say, like, well, I'm just going to eat 50%
Yeah,
of my food plant-based.
yeah.
But if you do it for animal rights, then it's almost like 100% vegan. It's a very political issue to me.
I see.
So,
I see. Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Rikard. It was great. Thank you for telling us about Green Hero. And do you have anything you'd like to say to the people watching?
well, I think that Greenhero is here to help anybody who wants to make the step into a plant-based diet. And we're not a service that's trying to convince people to eat plant-based food.
Yeah,
When people are ready to make the step, we are there to make it easier for them.
yeah. I see. Excellent. Great, great, great. And then, so anybody who wants to download it could just go.
Yep, we're on the App Store, only for iPhone at the moment,
Okay,
not for Android. Very sorry about that.
okay,
But we're a small startup
okay.
and focused on one platform first.
Great. So I look forward to hearing a lot more about Green Hero. So thank you very much, Ricard. And that's it. Thanks for coming. Great talking to you. And I hope we can be in touch. And thank you for watching.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Bye.